What's up, everyone? My name is Sal Cincotta, and today we're going to talk about what's in my bag for weddings. Look, I'm a wedding and portrait photographer, and we all have tons of gear, right? That we need, must have, that we might use on that one perfect day when the stars align and we need that piece of equipment that we have no idea what it does. Like these. That they're dead because we don't use them. Or this. I don't think I've ever used this. I don't even know how to use it. It's cool. Creates a kaleidoscope. But I'm a wedding photographer. But you get the gist. We've got all our gear, and what we're going to talk about today are things I actually use on a wedding day. Now, it doesn't matter. I am a Canon Explorer of Light, so of course, I am everything Canon. But it doesn't matter what your manufacturer is. We are going to cover, right, the range of equipment that I believe you need to be successful during being a wedding photographer. Now, right here to my left, your camera right, is, we'll call it the Holy Trinity. We have got everything from wide through to a telephoto lens, right? So we've got the 1535, the 2870, and the 7200. Those three lenses, if you're starting out as a wedding photographer, those are three must-have lenses that should be in your bag. Each of them brings a little bit something different to the table, of course. If you want those wide dramatic shots that you've seen in my portfolio, I'll pop up some here. Those are with wide angle lenses. They're going to bring in all that architecture, the buildings, the landscape, the mountains. You want that wide lens to capture all that, okay? Now, the 2870 is new from Canon, but what I do like about it, 2470, right? That range, it's beautiful. It's a perfect kind of like Swiss Army knife of lenses. You can go wide a little bit, but you can zoom in just a little bit. So it's a great Swiss Army knife of lenses. And Canon's done a great job here on the 2870 because it's 2.0. So you really get that shallow depth of field, which is why this thing is a beast of a lens because that's what's happening, right? All that glass in there. Canon did a really good job, but you're getting that shallow depth of field. So normally with the telephoto lenses, you're not getting the shallow depth of field because the glass just starts getting too big and it becomes unwieldy. So this is a big lens. It's heavy, it's hefty, but I like it. Again, it is a Swiss Army knife of sorts. Now, 7200, right? This is, again, this is for the R series. We should probably talk about that. My camera of choice is the Canon EOS R. And I know, when the R first came out, like photographers were like losing their mind. There's only one memory card slot. No, right? But here's the thing. I've been a 5D shooter, 1D shooter my entire career. I only used one memory card, so I don't understand what the difference is. Is it like because you don't want to be told what to do? But regardless, that's what we use. We've never had a problem. I shoot weddings, hundreds of thousands of images over the years, no problems. So do with that whatever you want. 7200, now this is new. Canon's done a really good job here. The 7200 previously was a much longer lens. So if you're a Nikon shooter, you're gonna have that long lens. Sigma, all of them have those longer lenses. And this particular lens now is kind of like buried in there, right? So it's got its own sleeve, and it's gonna kind of jut out. Now, I don't know if you caught on this. I had it locked, right? So now when it's in my bag, I don't want it kind of like, jutting in and out when it's in my bag. I think that's how your lenses kind of get screwed up. Okay. Those three, you're in good shape. Now, if I had to pick one, twist my arm. If I had to pick one, as I was starting out to start with, the first lens I would buy would be the 28 to 70, right? Or 24 to 70 if you're in another brand. That one, again, is that Swiss Army knife. It gives you a little bit of taste of both worlds. You can go wide, not super wide, but you can zoom in, also not in super tight, right? So that's a good first lens. The next lens I would add would absolutely be a longer lens, a 7200. Now, the reason I would suggest that 7200 is because you're gonna get what's known as compression, right? If you go outside and you shoot mountains in the background and you use a wide angle lens, those mountains are going to look this small, right? They're really not even going to be noticeable. They're a blip on the horizon. That's why you would want a longer lens. Compression is going to bring your foreground and your background closer together and really change the way that portrait looks. And we'll do a video on that later on, but that is the difference between being wide and that kind of telephoto zoom lens to give you that compression. So those are 3 right there. But now let's just jump right to the camera. So my camera on any given wedding day, any given Sunday, except we shoot them on Saturdays, is going to be the EOS R. That's what we are shooting. We have switched over to this as a studio, and we could not be happier. Now, of course, Canon's got the brand new R5 coming out, and we will 100% be switching over to that as well, just because of the new features, right? The pixel count, it's got 8K video, host of other features that we want to be able to use in our wedding business, and it has 2 card slots. But guess what? I'm still only going to use 1. All right, so I do like it. The reason I like this camera, there's a host of reasons, right? If you're into mirrorless and you're a mirrorless fan, some of the things that are on the Canon, you're going to be like, yeah, so what? But the features that I like, one are the pop-out screen that I can use for low angles. That's nice. I don't know if you're like me. I used to lay in the street, and trying to look into the viewfinder. Now we don't have to do that anymore. We've joined the 21st century. So we have that. That's a big feature of mine. Of course, I like seeing the electronic viewfinder, see the results in there. So it kind of acts like your own little, loop, so that when you're outside in bright conditions, you can still see the image you've made. Eye tracking, huge feature if you want sharp images. And overall, Canon's done an incredible job, which we should do a review. We'll do a review on the R5 when it comes out. With the eye tracking and the servo mode, it is tack sharp. So Canon did an incredible job with this camera, so much so I'm willing to bet my entire business on this camera. We use it, again, every day in our business. Now, on this bad boy, you will notice 2 things. First is going to be these nubs on the bottom. I'm a huge fan of Spider holster. Don't know if you use them. If you are, shout out in the comments. Let me know if you love it as much as I do. But what this does, these nubs, there's a special belt. Okay, and on this belt, bam, I'm going to slap that in there while I'm in the field working, and then I can take it out and work in real time. So this allows me to put it on my hip and have my hands free. So if you're messing with a bride, you're messing with her dress or anything like that, you want to have 2 hands free. And what do you do today? You're probably putting this camera, you're either handing it to an assistant, putting it on the ground, bad idea for a multitude of reasons, right? Or just you're constantly putting it someplace. That's just bad news. So I like being able to put it on my hip. It takes a little bit of getting used to. When I first tried a Spider holster, I actually didn't like it. And then it took me a while. I came back to it. Now I can't work without it. On this, my obsession in life is my 85mm 1.2. I love this lens. It is the perfect kind of bridal portrait lens at 1.2. It is so milky. If you want this beautiful kind of shallow depth of field, but you still want to be sharp, this lens is incredible. And you are going to get fall off like no other. You might be thinking, well, Sal, do I need a 1.2? I can get a 1.8 for $400, but a 1.2 is $2,000. Trust me, I understand your pain. But I promise you there is a significant difference between getting a 1.8 or 1.4 even and a 1.2. The 1.2, hands down, will look like nothing else you have seen out there. So I promise you, it's a great portrait lens. That's why I like it. All right, so I want to jump over here. Now, Canon on their mirrorless does not make this lens yet. It's a macro lens. It's a 100mm macro. So this is an EF mount versus the R series, which is RF mounts, okay? And what they do is Canon made an adapter so that you can take your EF lenses, put them on your RF camera, okay? So that's what this is here. Now, the 100mm is how I'm getting those tight ring shots, detail shots, could be of her eye, could be of the wedding dress, but I would highly recommend getting to a macro lens in your bag. Some way, somehow, you're gonna need it. And I like the 100mm because you're still getting a little bit of compression out of it, and it's good for details. Again, eye, earrings, if you wanted a really tight shot of earrings and hands putting it on, ring here or ring, on display on a table or anything like that. It is a perfect detail lens. But a lot of people don't realize you can actually use that as a portrait lens as well. So you don't have to use an 85mm, you can use the 100mm and of course just back up. It just happens to be a macro as well, and that's part of the beauty of it. I love it. Right next to that, we're getting down the list here, is a 50 millimeter. Canon 50 millimeter 1.2 as well. Again, you can tell I love that shallow depth of field. There's just nothing like it. And I can tell you, when I have most of the way I shoot is wide open. So I'm going to be at 1.2 or 2.8, and I'm going to shoot wide open most of the time. Now, reason I like this 50 millimeter, this is a great kind of mid lens, mid range, so waist up. You can get a really nice portrait here, whereas the 85 millimeter is really going to be a tight portrait. The 50 millimeter is nice. There's not as much skew, and you can get kind of that waist up. So this still looks beautiful. And again, at 1.2, you're going to get a lot of speed out of this. So it's fast glass. You're going to be able to shoot in low light conditions. So it's perfect for church, the bride coming down the aisle, the groom up front. So this lens and the 85 1.2 saved me a lot of stops. Think about that. Yeah, you can shoot now at ISO 2 million, right? But the noise on the cameras is horrible. I mean, it doesn't matter who the camera manufacturer is. There is a point in time where you just keep climbing up the ISO ladder and you're going to get so much noise and grain, the image becomes unusable. So going from 2.8 to 2.0, right, to 1.8, or and then finally at 1.2, or 1.4, then 1.2, you're getting another 3 or 4 stops of light out of it that you can come off on your ISO. And this is really, really important when you're shooting as a wedding photographer, because we work in a lot of low light conditions. The church is one low light condition. The first dances are low light conditions, and there's a host of others throughout the day, right? So unless you're outdoors, having, shooting at 4.0 is really tough, or 2.8 is really tough. You're going to add a lot of noise. So you got to invest in that glass, right? There's a lot of glass out there that are telephoto lenses that are 4.0 to 5.6, that range. I would say those are unusable for wedding photographers. If you're a wedding photographer, that is not a good lens. It's a kit lens typically, and it's not meant for professional grade. So I would highly recommend you get lenses that on the lowest, or I guess highest, depending on how you want to look at it, is 2.8, but you really want to get something that's 1.8, 1.4, 1.2 to give you that extra stop, 2 stops, 2.5 stops of light. It will save you in the long run. So it's a little bit more money, no doubt, but this is very valuable. So that's our 50 millimeter. And then finally in the lineup, Canon has a 35 millimeter 1.8. Also, nice lens. It's going to be a little bit wider, but it's going to give me that shallow depth of field. They don't have the 1.2 yet, but if they did, I'd jump all over a 35 millimeter 1.2 or a 35 millimeter 1.4. And I'm telling you, going from 1.8 to 1.4 is a big difference in the way the final image does in fact look. So my opinion, this is what you need in your bag. Ultimately, if you're just getting started out, don't be intimidated by what you're seeing here. We all start somewhere. And don't forget, I recommend that first lens you add, that Swiss Army knife, is your, in my case, 2870, but a 2470 on other platforms. That's your first lens you want to start with, and then you start slowly building from there. Whatever you do, my advice to you, having been in this for over 15 years now as a working professional, make the investment in the right piece of glass, because I'm telling you, you're going to circle back around in a year or two and you're going to be like, damn it, I wish I would have just bought the right lens the first time. And you would have, ultimately, you're going to save money, right? So if you have to convince your significant other that you need this, there's your excuse. I just gave it to you. Just play that one clip, don't play the rest of it, and cut there and you'll be fine. You know, Sal said so. I'll take the heat. Damn it, I wish I would have just bought the right lens the first time, and you would have, ultimately, you're going to save money, right? All right, everybody, hope this has helped you a little bit on seeing what's in my gear bag. If you like this video, want to see more reviews as we start doing them, click the subscribe button, like, sound off in the comments. Love to hear from you. We'll see you on the next video. All right, we are filming the What's in My Wedding Bag kit. Is it a kit? Is it a kit or is it a bag? Which is it? It's what's in my bag. What's in my bag? The wedding. What's up, everyone? My name is Sal Cincotta. I'm a professional wedding and portrait photographer, and today we're going to talk about my 2020. Nope, that's not what we're talking about. And today we are going to talk about my wedding kit. I'm getting started. Is it a kit or is it a bag? I don't know. It's what's in my bag. 2020.